Good morning, everybody. It's fantastic to see so many friends and colleagues here for breakfast and throughout the day. I'm Neale Mahoney. I'm the Trione Director of SIEPR. I'm also a professor of economics here at Stanford. It's an honor to welcome you to the summit. This is my first as SIEPR's director. The summit is SIEPR's marquee event. I attended my first summit 17 years ago in March 2008. If you cast your mind back to March 2008, this was a time when there was a lot of uncertainty about the path of the economy. Larry Summers gave the opening remarks, and in his remarks, I went back to his speech. He made the case that the United States had already, at that point, entered a recession. Larry Summers was prescient in that speech. Bear Stearns collapsed exactly 1 week later. I think all of us know what occurred after that. I hope this year's summit is much less ominous, but just as informative and maybe just as prescient. We have a cross-section of leaders from business, from academia, and from government here today. We have a fantastic lineup of keynotes and panels on our most pressing economic issues. I think it's not an overstatement to say we are living through a hinge point in history. In our own Silicon Valley, AI firms, many of them led by Stanford graduates or Stanford dropouts, stand to disrupt industries and livelihoods, I think, in ways that are both exciting and concerning. In Washington, D.C., a new administration is testing norms and constraints in ways that provoke the full range of reactions. And across the globe, institutions and alliances are being questioned in ways that I haven't seen since I was a young boy. When the seas are stormy, a good compass and a strong hand at the wheel are critical. I was drawn to economics because I think our frameworks, our evidence, our logic provide the clarity and conviction to sail through stormy seas. I'm thrilled to be leading SIEPR because I think our mission of bridging research and policy is more important than ever. So what does SIEPR do? Three things. First, and perhaps foremost, we develop the next generation of economists. Through our Next Gen program, we attract top students at Stanford to economics. We train them in our methods, and we launch them on careers in academia, in government, and in business. Through our Young Scholars program, we bring in rising stars in research to Stanford, and we provide them the environment to make their first research breakthroughs. In the long run, to me, this is our most important task. But we do two other things. We support and conduct nonpartisan economic policy research. We do this in a number of ways. Focusing on the long run, we build data sharing relationships with government and with businesses. We support faculty in conducting foundational research with that data. That provides the bedrock for sound economic policymaking. We also collect data and build models to inform economic policy decision-making so that we can ground the debates not in talking points, but in fact. Finally, we work to build connective tissue with policymakers through our boot camps, through our Policy Fellows program, so that when a policymaker faces an urgent or vexing economic issue, they can phone a friend. They can talk to somebody at Stanford for advice. Last but not least, we hold events, not only our summit, but a series of events throughout the year. This fall, we hosted a trade policy forum that previewed many of the events we're seeing in trade policy unfolding in front of us, including over the next 4 days. In April of this year, we'll be holding an event on the wildfires that wreaked havoc in the southern part of our state. We'll be thinking through how we can rebuild in an economically sound manner. In May, we'll be hosting an event on what some of you may recognize as the abundance agenda, the regulatory and other reforms that can allow our country to build more housing, to build more energy, and to build more industrial capability and resilience. Here's the bottom line. I've spent most of my career in academia. I've worked in government twice, including most recently in the White House. I know that academics have strong incentives to write and publish papers, but weaker incentives and little support to take the next step of connecting that research to policy. I know many policymakers who care about doing the right thing, about doing what works, but are not going to spend their weekend thumbing through pages of the American Economic Review. It is that experience that motivates me in our mission of better connecting economic research and economic policy. None of this, none of our mission would be possible without the incredible support from everybody in this room. SIEPR was founded in 1982. It was a great year. E.T. was playing in the theaters. The greatest pump-up song of all time, Eye of the Tiger, was playing on your radio. I was also born. Many of you have been part of SIEPR since our founding, right? 42 years ago. Your commitment to this institution is inspiring. I'm grateful for the trust that you've placed in me as our new director. So, want to give a special thanks to Dodge & Cox. They are a longtime sponsor of SIEPR and the SIEPR Economic Summit. I am deeply grateful to our advisory board, leading business people and philanthropists who support and guide me and SIEPR in our mission. I want to give particular thanks to our advisory board chair, Jesse Rogers, sitting here, and Alan Tiggerson, Patty McKenna, who are the co-chairs of the advisory board. Couple more things. Mark Duggan, who was my predecessor as director for 9 years, took this institute to the next level. I'm hugely grateful to him. I get to stand on his shoulders and on the shoulders of the directors that came before him. I also want to give a special thanks to Greg Roston. I think many of you know Greg. He was a longtime deputy under John Chauvin. And when I was on sabbatical this fall, he graciously, perhaps courageously, stepped in to be the interim director of SIEPR. It was while he was director that I worked side by side with Greg and our executive director, Jalu Streeter, to put together the program for today's summit. So huge thanks to Greg and Jalu. Few